Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. What a day. A beautiful day in the city. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your weekly horoscopes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a brief overview of the week's transits, and then I'm going to do readings for each sign by rising sign. These are based on whole sign Western astrology. So if you don't know your rising sign, you might want to go to one of the free birth calculators and input your information so that you know what houses and where your moon is and all that important stuff. What a week. I got to tell you, as I'm looking at the transits, I was working on a lot of astrology charts this week. And Saturn being in Pisces, restriction, Pisces is water. I had a leak in a window. I had issues with my plumbing. They're tearing up the street in front of my home to make way for larger sidewalks for people in wheelchairs. And I started to think about how funny it is when Mars was going through Gemini. We always just think about people being angry, and we think about, kind of hostility. We don't think about that Mars co-rules Scorpio. Scorpio is about digging deep under. Mars was like, and Mercury is sidewalks. So I'm starting to put all these weird strings together in my mind about how the transits reflect not just these sort of key words, but layers and layers and layers of things that we may not pay attention to. Good morning, Jay Sean. Good morning, Scarred Owl. Good morning, Katerina and Sandy Roby. Oh, how fun to be painting and listening. Oh my goodness. What a week. So then also, besides my plumbing freaking out and my leak in the window, then my mouth had another issue, my teeth. And I'm like, Saturn in Pisces. Are you kidding me? It's all just right in my face. So this is where I'm going with all of this. I feel as if what I'm being called forth in our conversations together and in my work as an astrologer is to broaden the layers of things that are happening. Because this week, Mercury's moving into Taurus today, and it's making a square to Pluto. And I'm just like, really? Mercury ruling almost every single thing, our roadways, our sidewalks, our schools, our communications, what we read, what we absorb. It's just so amazing to me. So thank you, Jay Sean. Good morning, Catherine. So, all right, I don't want to jaw on about my stuff, but I can't use my kitchen sink, and I'm part of the problem because I tried to fix something myself and duplicate what the plumber did when he was here earlier in the week. And, anyway, it's a new day. It's a new dawn. And this is what I want to encourage everybody, because even my neighbor upstairs, all I hear is creaking, creaking, creaking. I am on the edge of irritation. And the reason I bring it up is because there is a moment with Pluto moving into Aquarius and Saturn in Pisces, and where Mercury going into Taurus, squaring Pluto, Mercury having a sextile to Saturn this week, and then Mars having its conversations with Mercury. I just feel like I'm being called forth to integrate what I've learned over the last 2 years about myself, about how I can let my frustrations kind of run away with me, and all they do is kind of spin me like Fred Flintstone in the car. And I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm just really trying to be aware, to look at this as an opportunity to broaden my knowledge of astrology, to look deeper and deeper into those meanings and how they can cross-pollinate in any one week. Okay. So this week's, I think, a perfect example of that. So today, Mercury moves into Taurus. It's about 0 degrees. Well, we know that Pluto is at 0 degrees, and this makes a square. 0 degrees Aquarius. Let me be more clear. So there is something in the way we think, something that's happening in our everyday activities, something in that could potentially be happening with our siblings, could be happening with the way we're communicating. And I always think a square is sort of this tug of war between an old version of myself that is instinctual and sort of patterned, and then this new version of myself that is not quite rooted into my personal experience right now, and it creates this sort of "Ugh." And that's how I've been feeling all week, because my awareness of the disruptions and my intention to stay calm, to surrender to it, to be like, there is nothing I can do. Now, it's really irritating when you're trying to do your dishes in your bathroom sink, okay? And you can't let anything go down. And at the same time, I'm like, look how resourceful I am. Look how lucky I am to live in this century when I am primarily used to a garbage disposal and a spray nozzle. So I kept pulling myself in the direction of what would feel aligned to appreciation versus annoyance. And I want to offer that because I think that while Mercury moves rather quickly, Mercury's going to go square about the 20th, the day before we have the lunar eclipse. I'm sorry, it's a solar eclipse. And the reason I say all this is because I think that as we pay attention, as we're looking at the psychology that Pluto represents, what is the deep imprint of how I think, how I feel, how I process? I think this is going to give us information that allows us to take that square and then root it even more deeply into what we want to experience. Because on the 5th, Mercury makes a sextile to Saturn. And Saturn, this is also the day of the full moon. And let me just, before I go into the 5th, I do intend to get my April videos out for each one of you. I'm going to this coming week, and I apologize for their tardiness, but my challenges this week have ruined my deadlines. So there'll be a lot of stuff coming out this week. There'll be a video on the full moon, because it's that 7th full moon in a row at 16 degrees. And so this is important as well. So anyway, I digress because part of me is all over the place right now. All right. So on the 5th, as well as the Libra full moon, we have Mercury sextiling Saturn at 3 degrees. And I think this is really important because the 3rd degree is the Gemini degree. So that kind of plays back to a few days earlier when Mercury was squaring Pluto. And so as I'm being aware of old historic things that happen, the leak in my window has been going on for years. The plumbing issue that we have with the pressure and the heat has been going on for years. And when the planets moved into their new signs, it all kind of bubbled up, erupted in some ways, including the idea that Saturn rules teeth and Pisces rules the fluids of the body and viruses, and I think even infections. So I was I kind of thought, wow. And then my tooth goes off this week. So it was very interesting. On the 5th, we also have the Sun conjunct Chiron in Aries. And I think that this is really important because while this is a very quick transit, the Sun moves very quickly. This idea that Chiron and Jupiter have been having this kind of continued, it's almost like they're on a summit and they're having continued talks about our beliefs, because you can't have a quick conversation about this stuff. You can't have a quick conversation about the wounds that you've experienced and transform them just like that. There is a process. And again, here we see Mercury squaring Pluto. Am I willing to go through the process of self-reflection to see where I actually stoke my own frustrations? That's what I was focused on this week. Am I going to focus in on the disruptions that are going on and let it put me in a pissy mood all week, which my Aries rising could absolutely do? And instead, I found this new pizza place that makes a vegan pizza and a gluten-free crust, and it's delicious. And I went there and chatted with the chef. And as I was walking away from the construction, because I can't even walk down the roadway anymore, I have to go like 20 minutes out of my way walking around, I decided to stop and talk to a neighbor who I didn't really know, but she has this beautiful garden. And I just kept being aware of how can I take this disruptive moment and move my focus into something that actually brings me more peace of mind. And in doing so, I could be proud of myself and I could recognize where I am evolving, where I'm a work in progress. And I want to encourage you this week, particularly, to look at that because Mercury's big on the docket, I think. And the retrograde, I don't have my notes in front of me right now because I've been a little disorganized, but I believe that Mercury will be about 15 degrees, which is the Taurian degree, history, my self-esteem, before it moves backwards, retrograde. I think it's going to go to 5 degrees and then it'll move forward again. So I really think that this is an opportunity for us to take our story, Mercury sextiling favorable aspect to Saturn at 3 degrees. How am I thinking? Then I've got that Libra full moon, and I want to offer it this way. And I am, again, going to do a separate video. My intention, I decided no matter how tardy I am, I'm still getting those videos out. It's me taking advantage of Saturn's energy. Because I want to say this, I think that this is where we can look at our history, we can look at our habitual patterns, we can look at the things that we have let depress us and stoke our fears and paralyze us or have us feel as if authority is restricting us in some way. And instead of falling prey to that, we can take the idea of this full moon at the 16th degree, the 7th in a row, and implement diplomacy and harmony despite disruption in the neighborhood. Now, on the 7th, we see Mercury sextiling Mars. Mercury will now be at 6 degrees Taurus, and it will be sextiling Mars in Cancer. I think this will bring up a lot of stuff about I almost have a feeling of nostalgia. There's a feeling that Mars is feeling a little protective of home, a little bit, making sure everybody's safe and sound. And Mercury is making me feel as if it's reminiscing in some way. So you could potentially feel around the 7th, like that. I think that's next Thursday, Friday. You may feel like you want to eat food from your childhood. You may want to soothe yourself in some way from some of the madness of the Mercury Pluto square. And Pluto's energy right now is just an indication of the newness that's coming in 2024, the new structures. And a lot of the media, especially in the United States, is really inflammatory right now. I'm not going to talk about it specifically, but you can turn on any news channel and see the disruption and the contrary energy. And so I feel like this is super important because as you feel that opportunity to self-soothe, right, to use the things from maybe your childhood that made you feel comforted and warmed and even if it's a cozy blanket, because Venus is also making a sextile to Neptune on the 7th. She will be just about done with her stay in Taurus, which is her domicile. She's at 26 degrees, which is the Cancerian, it is the Venusian degree. Because when we get there, when we go to 24 degrees is Pisces, 25 is Aries, 26 is Taurus. And the 25th degree, Neptune's at 25 degrees. So I think this is about allowing myself to really, because Venus and Neptune are best friends. I mean, she loves being in Pisces. She loves Jupiter for the most part, and she loves being in dreaming conversation with Neptune. So here, I think that next weekend, if you just feel like hunkering down at home, being with your people, your friends, and just having a good old time, it makes perfect sense to me. It feels as if it's a way of taking that full moon and moving harmony and peace into the midst of what can feel like in the outside world very, very disruptive. So Lucy Rose, we've missed you. It's good to see you back in the room. Hey, DJ, good to see you. Dusk, good morning. Let me scroll down a bit. Jen, it's great to see you. I think I said hi to Catherine. Okay. All right, everybody. Let's go into our readings this week. I really got to tell you, Lucky and I have been he's been such a cuddle bug since Saturn moved into Pisces. You know, uh, him being a Pisces, his birthday is the last day of Pisces. I've thought about, Saturn ruling old age. And I heard, like, I was talking to another astrologer and they were kind of like, your dog's, Saturn's crossing over your dog's sun in a couple of years. And I thought to myself, I think the most important thing is just to love him in a way that isn't putting any sort of time and worry on it. And I had this move. I had a shift in my energy. And I think it's made Lucky more Piscean. He either has an Aries or an Aquarius moon. And either or, they both kind of make me feel like it's not that he's always been kind of independent. And now, since his last birthday, it's been really fun to see him be like, he likes me to scratch his head, and he's very playful, and like, so he's acting super youthful, but he's kind of like being the dog I always wanted him to be, where in previously he was more independent and sort of like sitting across the room. And again, I think these are kind of things that I have learned about my energy and how my energy was projecting onto him. So I feel like I've grown a little bit in my ability to receive love without feeling like I would lose it. So oh, you bet, honey. You bet. He's got such a huge cabinet of treats. I had to put him on a diet. That was the other funny thing that happened right after his birthday. Saturn had just moved into his sign, and he was such a pig. I let him eat so much food the week of his birthday that he was breathing super hard. And I knew his stomach was so full. He was like, ugh. So we had to cut it down to only 2 treats a day. So maybe that's why he's been more affectionate, because he's like, whoa. What happened? Anyway, let's get on to our readings now. Okay, everybody. I think I've looked tired today, so excuse me for that, because it has been a hell of a day at sea, sir, I'll tell you. All right, Aries. We're going to start with our Aries. Now, for those of you that are new on the show, although I don't really see any new faces, we're starting at Aries and work our way to Pisces. But what we do on this show is we start with the birthday month. So let me wish all my Aries happy birthday. It's been really powerful energy in your first house. And I think it's a great time to take advantage of Jupiter and to transform Chiron from what may have held you back, to allow yourself to individualize. And this isn't about, feeling not connected to others, but expressing yourself with all the things that your ruling planet has taught you while it was in Gemini for 7 months. All right. So here we go. I love this energy. This is an energy of innocence. The 6 of Cups is the only card in the tarot deck where all the cups are full of flowers. They're blossoming. Everything feels new and fresh and free and fun, and there's a sense of wonder and a sense of hope and a sense of feeling things are going to be better. And when I see that character in the background walking away, the grown-up, I feel like it's a little bit of the grown-up or my old story. The adulting part of me is stepping away for a minute, and I think that's a all of a sudden, my notes, I just sort of, hold on. Oh, no. Okay. I lost my train of thought for a second. Okay, Mercury is moving into Taurus, because this is what I want to say too. When I looked at the card, all of a sudden I thought this had something to do with Mercury for Aries. So I want to offer it this way. Mercury is moving into your second house. And I think that this is an opportunity to start to focus in on the sweetness of conversation, the sweetness of your neighborhood, the sweetness of, and the innocence, kind of playing back to what I'm an Aries rising. So this week, while there was so much disruption and so many I got really pissed off that I couldn't get my videos out. I was frustrated with myself. And then I pulled myself back and said, I don't want to do them in frustrated energy. I want to do them in excited energy. So I'd rather be late than to just get it done. And so that's kind of where I feel like this is an opportunity for Mars in Cancer, for my Aries, to feel a sense of innocence, a sense of fun, maybe let the grown-up take a walk, your worries, your troubles. Let's see what the angels have to say. All right, here we go. Aries, our first angel is Teresa. The second is Fiona. The third is Oceana. And the final is Indriel. Teresa's being joined by the Truth card. Fiona's being joined by the High Priestess. Oceana's being joined by the Joy card. And Indriel's being joined by the Dragon. Okay. When I look at this, I immediately thought that the Six of Cups was also kind of saying to my Aries, maybe, I know it's your birthday month, but I also want to say maybe it's just a time to give yourself more permission to enjoy yourself, your appetites, your interests, your television shows, your foods, rather than really, because Mars in Cancer right now, and that little feeling of maybe I'm defending my home, or I feel like I need to protect those that I love. I feel like, whoa, let's take that off the docket, take that off the agenda in some ways, dig down deep to knowing that you're safe and you're protected and that you're here to represent balance on this planet right now. When I was younger, there was a period of time when a lot of my friends were dying. They were driving off cliffs. They were ODing. It was a really weird couple of years. I think I've told you guys, I've had a lot of Pluto transits conjunct my natal chart as I was growing up. And my dad kind of freaked out, right? Because he's like, this is so crazy. And I remember worrying a lot. And this was an instinct of mine to go into my heart and say, is it really something to worry about? Am I in danger? Because the reason I say that is because Mars will get instinctual about things and start to act out. And I feel as if this is an opportunity to look and see what you have to worry about and look deep into your heart for a deeper truth. Because Fiona is saying, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And I think this is a time to really trust an intuitive part of yourself. And I can't help but see such a large energy coming from the heart chakra of the High Priestess right now, as if really coming from this place of being able to receive the offering of innocence, the offering of faith, the offering that things are going to work out no matter how disruptive they may feel right now. Because Spirit is telling you to continue your journey. One of the journey of self-discovery and owning yourself rather than having to defend yourself, Aries. This is the thing about Chiron going through this, your sign right now. It's about the transformation of the wound to the gift, and that happens as there's a realization that you would never have the gift if you didn't have the wound. One coin, two sides. So now continue to swim up through everything. You're in Cancer right now, meaning Mars is in Cancer. So swim up towards what feels most joyous to you. Turn away from what stokes the fire, because here we see your transformation represent in a way that is different than some of the other signs, because Mars co-rules Scorpio, the most intense sign of the zodiac, what most people think. I love Scorpio. There's this big energy, and Aries, there's a big energy of being sort of in your face disruptive. And I don't think that's necessarily true for Aries. I think that's a real categorization and a kind of this throwing everybody into the same pool. So here's the calm that you have obtained because you've spent 7 months examining your thoughts, looking deeper into how you interact with others. That was the beauty of Mars being in Gemini for so long. And now you get to really represent an evolved version of yourself and to start to take advantage of the gifts of everything that you've processed over these last few months, if not last few years. And happy birthday, because it's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. And I'm feeling good. Okay, that was obnoxious. I'll admit it. At least I didn't sing. All right, here we go. I know, small. It's true. But I'm finding the more I'm embracing the dark, the grayer it gets, not the darker it gets. So it's almost as if the dark, when I'm in those moments and I have this awareness of, how do I want to process this for me? Then as I have that awareness, it's almost like light comes shining in the door. I found myself being totally obnoxious. I'm like, thank God the kitchen sink, if the kitchen sink isn't working, at least I have the bathroom sink. At least I have the tub if I need to, and it's clean. Okay. All right, here we go. Taurus. All righty, here, I love this. This is the Two of Wands, and I want to offer it this way because when I look at the Two of Wands and I see the wand behind this character and it's anchored into the cement, I feel like there's a certain amount of his passions, of what he wants to create, how he sees his world is been rooted into his world. But now there's new things. It's that shorter stick. It's not quite as stable. And there's a feeling of having to sort of continue to keep thinking and keep my eye on the prize. And I think this is beautiful because as Jupiter has been in your 12th house, it's been re-examining your beliefs, re-examining how you have, previously given yourself permissions, and maybe even you've gone over your own personal history. Because I really think the 12th house has a lot of ancestral energy, karmic energy that we don't see because it's imprinted on our soul. And as Jupiter has gone through this, Aries being your 12th house of individuality and distinguishing yourself from your history or what you have historically experienced, it gives you an opportunity for you to expand into new territory, to bring new things into your experience when Jupiter goes into your first house in May. There's going to be I just got chills everywhere. And while my moon is there, it's interesting to me because my south node is at 3 degrees Aries, my rising is 26 degrees Aries, and my moon is 9 degrees Taurus. I've been feeling this Jupiter transition so much in me examining more and more the repetitive conversation I have with myself, which is then indicative of my beliefs. And one of the things this week that was going on for me with the plumbing was the responses I was getting from property management felt kind of weird. And I thought, why is this girl being so rude to me now? I found out the regular girl wasn't there and they had a replacement. So that's why the energy of the text changes. So that took me into my brain of thinking, don't make assumptions. Taurus, sometimes we make assumptions and we act on those assumptions because of a history that we have. And I was so happy that I didn't act out on those assumptions because once I interacted with the person and found out she was new, she was very helpful. So that's what I'm saying. Good morning, Dr. Linda from Toronto. Welcome to the room. We are on Taurus. The tarot card for this week is the Two of Wands. New things are growing in your life, new inspirations. You're holding the world in your hand. Let's see. And I really think a lot of this is going to continue to transpire as the year goes on. Oh, I just got chills again. Because I also think that part of the Taurus thing is an integration of your beliefs where you don't have to feel that's that label of not letting things go may now get integrated into something that really serves you. So our first angel for Taurus is Archangel Uriel. The second is Bridget. The third is Teresa. And the final is Archangel Michael. Being a Taurus moon, I know that I have things that stick in my heart and my brain, and I'm extremely sensitive, as y'all know. So when people are phoning it in, I feel it. And so I think one of my challenges as a Taurus moon is to recognize that my anger doesn't serve me, my constant visiting my hurts, whether I'm right or wrong, doesn't serve me. And this is exactly what Archangel Uriel is talking about, and about what the Two of Wands is offering you is to look towards the future. Part of what you've built is already anchored in. You can't really do anything about your history. And so as we see this sort of I don't want to turn my back on it because obviously this is right here, but I don't think I need to focus on it anymore. So here we see Archangel Uriel being joined by the birth and the rebirth card, which gives Taurus an opportunity to release frustration, to integrate any anger, and to recognize, is it really working for me, or am I just spinning my wheels, never going to get anywhere, because what is. my father passed away. In this lifetime, there's no further reconciliation of that relationship unless it comes from the interior of me and the permissions I give myself. Because Bridget is saying to look deeper into a situation. And we have the high priestess, which really represents discernment. And I want to offer this too, because part of my personal evolution, being an Aries rising, is to recognize my Mars energy and that it doesn't serve me all the time. Yes, it's great when I'm brave, but it's not so great when I'm pissy. So when I look deeper into, am I discerning? Sometimes my challenges are the very things that offer me opportunities to display my evolved self. Because I feel right now that when I look at Taurus, there's this sense of worry, and then there's this trust card. And I feel like this is the real bridge that you get to walk across. You have enough information, Taurus, to know that you have the bullish energy to move forward. You will be able to express your voice. It's just a little bit about having the courage to say, am I willing not to put myself out there for other people's scrutiny, but for my own self-expression, for my own joy, for my own truth? Because here's Archangel Michael telling you not only that you're protected, but to have the courage to walk into your own truth, to step into it, not for other people's approval, but for your own sense of the deep self and what's important to you and what you require as an individual. And sometimes, we are humans, and we absolutely want other people to applaud our accomplishments and to stand in support of us. But sometimes when we don't get that, we ourselves end up diminishing those accomplishments. And I think that this is a moment for you to really look to your future, to discern whether there's any more repair to be done in certain situations. And if indeed there is not really any repair because there's lack of cooperation or the person's not available anymore, it's an opportunity for you to really turn that into something that spawns you forward in a more positive or a more joyous way. That's what I want to say. Yes, DJ, exactly. I agree 100%. Okay, let's go on to our Geminis, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Somebody said something about Pisces. I wanted to look at that for a second. Who was that? Oh, DJ, you said with my Saturn opposition in Pisces. What were you? Oh, you were continuing something. I have the reason I wanted to that caught my eye was because Saturn is starting to make an opposition to my Pluto. And I also thought that was rather funny because my Pluto is in Virgo, my house of service. Saturn has been restricting my ability to do videos because of my plumbing. Pluto, plumbing. And I'm doing my dishes in the bathroom. Ugh, gross. And my bathroom's clean. Oh, you have a Virgo stellium. Wow. I just did a reading with a gal who has a Virgo stellium yesterday. Okay. Let's go on to our Geminis. All that Mercury stuff, pay attention to it this week too, because that's going to be important for you. Okay. Ooh, Gemini, justice. Now, I want to offer this because when I do these readings each week, the major arcana has a much heavier and more influential weight. And a heavy, I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean it in like, you can see this has a lot of authority in this card. There's a lot of feeling of government potentially, the justice system. This is the minor arcana is a little bit lighter in its energy. It's more detail oriented. So I want to offer this because I believe that something fair is happening for Gemini. Every week, I never remember my readings, but every week when I do Gemini, I key into this change in your public status. I keep keying into this opportunity for there to be some sort of move into something a little bit more authentic where you're recognized for all your hard work, where you're recognized for your mind and your thoughts in a way that you have not maybe been before. Now, I don't off the top of my head know where Libra is in your chart, but I wonder if this full moon coming up in a couple weeks wouldn't have some conclusion, because it's in Libra and I'm seeing the Libra scales here. And I'm wondering if something isn't going to come around for my Geminis that will actually bring forth some balance. Like either you'll be recognized, you'll finally be validated. Something feels very strong for me. And if we think about the idea that Mars was going through your first house for 7 months, maybe that's why I keep thinking that you've been going up this uphill climb of trying to create and forge a path for yourself that is not only cooperative to the team and to, the group, it's also offering you your own individual sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. Okay. Hey, Jay. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome in. Okay, here we go. Welcome, Jersey. Let's see, Gemini, where this justice is coming in. Because I think, too, because this week is that full moon, it may not necessarily be the action, but information that comes through that represents the justice down the line. Oops. All right. Our first angel flying out is Seraphina, saying that there's a new change and happy change coming to the family. Omega talks of victory. Oh, goodness. We have 4 military helicopters going by right now. We have Archangel Gabriel talking about communication. I don't know if you can hear that. And then we have Adriana. That's a lot of helicopters for this time of. Got to tell you, we usually only have 1. Oh, if NCCW, I want to offer this. If I've emailed you, if you've emailed me, I email back. But sometimes if it's an EDU or I get jettisoned out. So if you haven't heard from me, look for a response from info@terihunter.com. Check your junk mail and email me again. I'll be on the lookout for it because I've been absolutely. I know there was somebody who reached out to me, and as I emailed them, I'm like, oh, they're not going to get this. And I tried to play around with the email address, but okay, great. All right, terrific. Gemini, Seraphina is being joined by the Joy card. Omega is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Truth. And Adriana is being joined by the Letting Go card. There's something coming up for my Geminis where I feel as if whatever disruption's been going on for you about like through your first house, if there's been arguments with your kids, arguments with your siblings, if there's been challenges at work with people not being cooperative or gossip and nonsense, I feel like turn away from it right now. I think the series of full moons and Saturn moving into your 10th house, I think is going to bring some sort of recognition for how you've been compassionate showing up. I feel like, Gemini, you haven't bit or you haven't taken the bait, as if somehow through all of this you've kept your equilibrium. And maybe in the past you would be more apt to give your opinion, and so somehow people are observing a change in you. And I know I'm talking to a lot of people right now, so looking into your lives and giving yourself permission, because that 10th house there's a lot going on up there. It can change your status in your intimate relationship. It's also a house of where you see marriage, parenting, changes in status, because this Joy card and Seraphina saying there's a new happy change makes me feel like something is lightening up. And when I go and I see the victory card of Omega, I feel like you've been holding your truth ever so delicately. You didn't freak out during the storm. You didn't grab onto it and make your hands bleed. Rather, you just somehow held your equilibrium. And now the truth is coming out for you. Somehow justice is going to come. And I want to offer it this way, because whatever the outcome is, because I'm not sure the outcome reveals itself this week, but I definitely think that there's there's a door opening where you see the potentials of the outcome or where we could be going. Because Adriana says she's leading you to the answers to your prayers. And if y'all watched me for a while, you know the letting go card isn't about letting go. I'm a Taurus moon. I have no idea how to really let something go. I can only incorporate it to make it work for me. So this became the song, Let It Go from Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. I think that is because a truth is coming out where you're not going to be prejudged for who and what you have been, like you have been maybe negatively in the past. And now I think things are going to start to shift, and you're going to be recognized for your own personal evolution. So going there. All right. Let's go on to our Cancers. Thank you, Jen. All right. We have the very powerful World card. This is where the hero, the Fool has gone through the whole, major arcana, and here he's coming to the end of the journey where all the elements are coagulating. The mind, the eagle used to represent, is also a totem for Scorpio. So here I feel like I'm understanding my psychology. I'm understanding my heart. I've reconciled my history. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, representing the elements here, because now I understand how things are secular. I'm starting to understand and feel a sense of willingness to be vulnerable, because I know that to be protected is to be with my connection to spirit. I think that purple is like representing my third eye and the connection, and this big victory ring feels as if there's some sort of culmination coming. Cancer's another one I've been kind of through the pandemic and even afterwards, it's because of the Pluto opposition, and now that's coming off of you. Okay. Because I've been concerned that you've been feeling really, your heart's been heavy, and you've been feeling really kind of like somebody's put a heavy blanket on you, and you're trying to move forward, and yet that blanket just kind of doesn't seem to let you move forward quickly enough. And now I feel like you're incorporating the wisdom of all of this. There have been times in my life where if I would have been able to take action on my initial reaction to something, it would have actually not worked out as well as me sitting back a little bit and having a little space. And that space was not necessarily because I put the space there. It was because I was stopped. And in the stop, it offered me an opportunity to see, I am being taken care of. There is something bigger going on here. And if I got what I thought I wanted, it would only be this big. Instead, Spirit brought me this much. So let's look at our reading for Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stellium. All right. Here we go. So when I look at that JDF 8879, okay, so I'm thinking that's your birthday now, because you said you're a Leo sun. So you've got some stuff going on. Your Cancer rising Pluto would have been really rewriting and giving you opportunities to look and see how you perceive yourself and your value out in the world. Now we see your Leo sun, depending on the degree, Pluto is going to give you another opportunity to dig deeper. We're just getting, our toe tipped into this Pluto energy, but it will be opposing your sun at some point. And this is what I want to say about an opposition, because as I've been living this opposition between my natal Pluto and Saturn coming into Pisces, I've realized that this was an opportunity to incorporate what I've been learning, what I've been talking about, and that at this moment it was my job to really seek the deeper levels of protection that sometimes disruption has offered me. So Virgo moon, Saturn could be doing a little something till you're there. Okay. Be prepared. Preparedness is great. Okay, here we go. Cancer, our first angel is Crystal. Have faith. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. Grace and Antoinette is about compassion. Azure saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. And Daniel is the angel of marriage, but also the angel of history, the angel of our experiences within relationships and how they have imprinted upon us a certain vibration that sometimes makes us unknowingly alerted to that vibration when we feel vulnerable. So Crystal is asking you to have faith and hope. And then we have the risk card. One of the things about my Cancers is you're so intuitive, and you're ruled by the moon. You're ruled by emotions. Emotions are really your indication, your what tells you vibrationally if you're in alignment with your truth of what you want to experience. And I believe that the world is now time to claim that in a really big way. And I want to offer this for my Cancers, because these full moons that have been happening, 7 of them in a row at the 16th degree, which is the Cancerian degree. How do I nurture myself so that I may nurture others? How do I pay attention to my inner knowing and my intuitions? Am I throwing them aside because maybe the people around me are like, what are you talking about? We don't care about your feelings. And yet you're knowing deep inside that those feelings are your true north, because this is really about your reward will come as you integrate everything you know and you allow these full moons to illuminate the truth of what you know without your eyes, but rather with your inner knowing. I live 90% of my life these days on my inner knowing. If people came to me and said, how are you building your career? And I told them I sit on my couch and I imagine I'm a movie premiere beam and I call the universe forth to bring clients to me, they would tell me I'm crazy. And I've been doing it for 9 years, just like that. Isn't that crazy? But it's not. So have compassion for yourself, I'll bet you, because Grace and Antoinette, have compassion for yourself and the restriction that you have felt and may even on some level. So let's look at this. We just talked to somebody who said they have a Virgo moon. That was JDF. So if indeed Saturn is making an opposition to your moon right now, then this is an opportunity to see how much compassion you're having for yourself. Because, Virgo is not very compassionate sometimes. It expects its perfection, and it can be a little bit critical, and that Saturn can feel like it's exasperating that. But you have worked so hard on some level, Cancer, to connect with an inner knowing in a way that feels strong, in a way that feels like it is your, I want to keep saying true north, but I hate using the same word over and over again. Azure is saying that your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith. And then there's the reconciliation card. Yes, it's called forgiveness here, but for me, there's a sense of I understand the journey. I understand the unknowing and the risking of unknowing, and yet setting an intention that's so important to me that that's where I focus. Because Daniel, the angel of marriage, is being joined by the deer. And I want to offer this because if you are a Cancer rising and you want to start a relationship, you're ready to start a family and things have not really come to fruition, this is really an opportunity for you to be very compassionate with the restriction that you've experienced. Because when you examine the type of relationship you really want, it's not about putting somebody in the bed next to you. It's not about just procreating or having everybody outside think you've got yourself together. This is about how you feel on the inside. Because as the maternal energy, as you hold the very bottom of the zodiac. You literally hold it up. And I feel like this is time to claim your reward, to claim your intuition, and to take action on that intuition. And even if for some reason things feel like they haven't moved forward, it's because they're going to move forward better than you could have imagined them when you were sitting in an insecure energy, when maybe you were doing that little crab crawl of, I don't know, I'm not sure. Let me love you more than I love myself. That is a recipe for disaster. So here, I think you're going to start to feel some ease. You're going to start to feel some sense of, I can't help but see the deer sort of as Bambi today. And there we go. Here, this feeling vulnerable and yet at the same time, a deeper trust. a deeper trust that everything's coming together and that your history is actually serving your future. Okay. Oh, yeah. There you go. There you go, small. But there's a beautiful combination of for integration, because if we're polarizing, being in a body and out of body, we perceive as humans that when we're out of body, we somehow are peaceful and we know everything and we're living la la la. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I kind of think that sometimes we have the same similar awareness when we're out of body. We just don't have the body to act it out. So we come here under the veil to take the opportunities to balance all of these qualities. I really believe that the zodiac is kind of like the color wheel, the opposites complement each other. So we have blue on one side of the color wheel and we have orange on the other, and when you put them together, they complement each other. So this is what my channel is going to focus in on. I'm going to repetitively look at where we complement, where do we empower, how do we reach for the higher vibrations of these planets. Because, the human structure is focused on negativity. And if the law of attraction is true, that's why this place sucks. Sorry. Pardon me. Okay. On to our Leos. Leo, you've got the king of fire. And I want to offer this because that little salamander, that little lizard in the bottom makes me think that there's a lot of things that are growing back, that there are things that are coming into your world, and it's time to look beyond the mundane, beyond the little things that may be annoyances. Look further, because I'm very excited about Venus's little she's going to be hanging out in your sign for quite some time. I think it's like 4 months with the retrograde. So there's a lot of opportunity for Leo, the sign of creativity, the sign of romance, the sign of conception, the sign of entertainment and fun and frivolity. And honestly, the reason that Leo is the leader of the zodiac, why the sun rules Leo and the sun rules the zodiac, is because we are not really meant to be here to be Saturnian. Saturn offers us contrast so that we can enjoy what the sun has to offer us. And if you think about what the astrologers will say, is that the sun eclipses every single planet. Okay, so if the sun is conjunct Saturn, it technically eclipses Saturn. But most of the time, people will talk about Saturn's restrictiveness on our sun, and they'll give Saturn that more powerful energy. And they forget that Saturn ruled the golden age. And when we put the Saturn and sun together, like Kobe Bryant in Virgo, we have a great recipe for success. So keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye out far. Don't look at the little details of today. Okay, let's see. Hi, Gita. You're never late. You're always where you're supposed to be, or where you are is just perfect in any given moment. Is that actually full moon? How does that work? I'm not quite, Dr. Linda, I don't understand the question quite. We will have a full moon on the 5th in Libra. Full moons are oppositions for the sun and the moon, and they illuminate a situation. We have had a series of full moons at the 16th degree starting back in October 2022. So each full moon, the Aries full moon, the Taurus full moon, the Gemini full moon, et cetera, to the Libra full moon is all been at 16 degrees, and it's been traversing the lower half of the hemisphere of the zodiac, which is very personal. It's all about evolution of the self, of my voice, of how I interact with my community, how my homeland affected me, how I enjoy myself. So it's been giving us a series of illuminations so that we could get out of our own patterns, or at least the patterns that are holding us back. Okay, here we go. I hope I explained that quickly. I'm being very conversational today. I hope the audience in playback doesn't get too irritated with me. And I know I promised last week I was going to put chapters in after the timestamps were put in, and I'm going to do that this afternoon. I've got 2 clients after this, and then I'm going to take advantage of my beautiful help with Small and with Lucy Rose, and I'll put chapters in so you can just click on the chapter. Okay, Leo, our first angel is Desiree. The second is Archangel Raphael. The third is Rochelle. And the final is Akasha. Oh, thank you, DJ. I really wish I had so many plans for last week for producing videos. And I got to tell you, I was like, and we've had some growth on the channel, and I started to get all locked up. Like the growth was going to start diminishing because I wasn't doing. And then Spirit reminded me it's not about doing, it's about your being energy when you're doing. Appreciate the degrees that I have. You have Leo 16 degrees. Oh, wow. That's very cool. So that's kind of well, I don't know what you say you have Leo 16 degrees. Is that your rising sign? Okay. Leo, Desiree is being joined by the hawk. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the deer. Rochelle is being joined by the leadership card, the stag. And the high priestess is being joined by Akasha. The first thing I saw, that's okay. The first thing I saw when as the spread came out, it made me feel as if Leo might inadvertently be humanizing the creative process. And when I say humanizing it, it's like, if you are a writer and you write stories and you develop characters, yes, you can sit down at your computer, but a lot of what you're doing comes from inspiration. It comes from sort of this soft focus on things. And the King of Wands and the wands in general are all about creativity. So this is about standing in leadership, in standing about in the highest vibration of the fire element in your creation and looking beyond the mundane at it. Because up until now, conditions may not have been favorable for you to move your story forward. And if for some reason you've been frustrated, I haven't felt inspired, I haven't been able to, produce my videos, or I feel like I'm not doing, speaking my true voice, then this is an opportunity to really look for the signs and the omens that it isn't about pushing. Sometimes it's about you're being aware of your being energy. How am I going about this? Am I doing this because I feel I have to? The have tos, the shoulds, the needs, they have a draggy foot, like you're like a ball and chain energy. But when you say, I get to do this and I get to do that, it changes how the audience perceives it. Because here I feel like you're realizing, oh, I'm looking for inspiration. I want inspiration, and my frustration with the lack of inspiration may have been thwarting me. And then we have this deer card, which is really about being gentle and diplomatic with yourself as you allow for the inspired action of creativity. Because double down, Leo, on coming. Rochelle is about following your heart and how prosperity comes from following your heart. And here's the leadership card of the stag. And what do you represent? The heart and courage, the heart and the spine, standing up from your heart. Because I think that's what you're really, that's what's been happening for you right now, is an opportunity to see how coming from your heart, coming from that intuitive knowing, coming from that, this is what I kind of want to put it this way. When you have a level of excitement about endeavoring something, it creates an outcome that supersedes your expectations. And that's why I think there's a little part of you that has had a certain expectation, which is why the king is asking you to look beyond the mundane, look beyond what's happening right now, because conditions have not been favorable and you've been getting signs and omens, but maybe you haven't realized that the idea of inspiration comes from relaxation and fun. If you have a creative endeavor, if you want whatever it is, because you could be a finance person, you could be, a straight up painter, you could be a crafter. I don't really care what it is, but understanding the ebb and the flow. Once you start a project and you've got the template of how you're going to build your rocking chair or how you're going to knit your blanket or whatever it is, then you're in process mode. But allowing for the inspiration first, allowing for the relaxation of something, the enjoyment of going for a walk. And then you're like, oh, I got this idea and I got that idea and this idea. And then you learn how you're working in tandem with the bigger part of yourself. That's what I'm talking about. creativity is like water, and I think sometimes as humans we think creativity is like earth, and we should just pound it out, pound down the street. And I don't. I think it's like flow in some way. Okay. Fight with the water company. Oh, isn't that funny? Oh, I'll tell you. I almost think it's comical, the weird kind of polarizing week I've had with all the annoyances in my home. And then when I go out of the home, I'm trying to be extra friendly to people, extra joyous, to connect to the things that are working instead of the things that aren't. When I stopped this woman, she's a neighbor, but she's a few streets over. I've never seen her before, but I always see her garden. And my Taurus moon loves her garden. I wish I had a little piece of land like this to grow things in. And it was such a calming conversation to allow myself. I walked past her house, and then I decided to turn back and introduce myself and to compliment her on her garden. And I feel like that helped me to align to a deeper truth of who I am in the midst of a bunch of frustration. And all the things I wanted to create this week and all the stuff I wanted to share with you guys, it was just like one thing after another. And I wasn't going to let it actually land on me that way. I would acknowledge it and I would see it with my eyes, but I wasn't going to, in my evolved version of myself, let it pull me into a place of feeling defeated. I wanted to, but I wouldn't let myself. And that's where I think that's when the rubber meets the road and we start to live our evolved self in such a more tangible way. And I'm going to tell you, I really believe that we are going to thrive in these times that are coming up where other people may flounder. And it is because we are paying attention. And paying attention doesn't mean we're criticizing ourselves or judging ourselves. We're just aware of a vibration and saying, is this thought serving me? Is this attitude at this moment serving me? Is this belief still true? Because it may have been true at one point, but it may not be true now. Thank you, JD8879. All right, on to our Virgos. Steady money coming. Like that one small? I like it. I love it. Let's look and see what Spirit has to say. There's a little stubborn energy here, but I'm telling you, I've had this feeling that something's going on with my mercurial people. Yay, Jay. I love my earth signs. I really do. My Venus is in Virgo, which is really, so I crack up because I'm such not a girly girl. I try to be sometimes, but I'm not. I absolutely, Paul, you're right on there. I love that. Okay, Virgo, let's look and see what's going on with this steady money thing. We like that. Our first angel is Akasha. The second is Isabella. The third is Astera. And the final is Archangel Michael. As I'm shuffling the cards, Virgo, I'm getting this feeling of the thought behind the thought. Okay, so oftentimes I have learned that when I have an inspired thought, the immediate thought afterwards is a challenge of some kind. How will I do it? Is it feasible? What does my history tell me about the probability of that inspired thought? That might be something that's going on here because Akasha, the teacher, is here. And then we have the Baird, which just talks about your history. If we want steady money, Virgo, then to look back practically at where you've been to determine what is possible in the future is not the direction to go. You will not find the answer there. This is all about new territory. Isabella is saying the timing is right to shed a new skin, to incorporate some knowledge that you've had as you've grown. As like, I look at my Virgos in a platform like this, and I don't think you're like the Virgos walking on the street that don't pay attention to astrology or are not in in a vibration of awareness and wanting to move their story forward. Because I believe that what's happening right now is there's an opportunity where you're incorporating your history. You're realizing that I want to move forward in a way that shows not, this is a very Taurian energy right here, okay? And while we're on Virgo, and Virgo's an earth sign, the way this horse is, it feels like Taurus to me. So you are building, and you've been building, and as you use your voice in a way that allows your voice to speak to yourself, that recognizes a history where you may have held yourself back, where you may have thought, I don't know where the money's coming from. I can't see it. I make this much money. This is the hours I work, blah, 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 blah. You're learning something about the focus of your history, because now is a time for you to incorporate the things that you've been learning, the things that you've been contemplating, the new thoughts that you have come across your plate, for the lack of a better term. Because in the angel's advice, there's our creative, optimistic fire fairy. There's Astera saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and not to compromise. And this is where I want to go. The compromise is, will I keep going back to my history and determine my future based on my history? This is straight up about making money, about material resources that will support your future being thriving. And this is where I think I totally love this reading for Virgo, because Archangel Michael not only protects you, but he's asking you to have the courage to believe that which you need will come to you without your effort. Now, let me offer it this way. It may feel like effort for your mind to give permission for you to think you can receive, but this is sort of like building a muscle. The first time you go to the gym, you may be sore the next day, but as you practice and as you continue this, okay, is this thought serving me? Am I in a place of receiving money? Am I allowing money to come to me? Or am I somehow pushing it away from me because I can't see where it's coming from? And so the awareness of a habitual thought opens a space for the change of that habit. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to try to be like, I can't think like that anymore. You want to pay attention to your resistance. Things happen in the most bizarre ways for me. And I don't know why, but I think it's because I'm sitting on this platform with the ability and the opportunity to speak to you all. And sometimes when I say, where will the money come from? Sometimes I've had people tip me the same amount of money, if not more than my hourly rate. And that doesn't happen all the time. And I don't know what inspires those people to do that. But when it happens, it reminds me that it's my job to be open to receiving things from places that I don't expect, and not to push back on it when it comes. Sometimes, Virgo, God bless you, you'd be like, I don't know if I deserve this. Might be and you might try to give it back. No. This is about, if something comes to you, then your job is to learn how to receive. Maybe. Sounds good to me. So open up. I want to offer this to you for this week, because we have that full moon. Am I being gentle and diplomatic with myself as I contemplate my material resources? And can I affirm that money comes to me easily and often? Everything I need will be provided for me. Yes, Jay. And I don't think it's happening for you to be disruptive. I think it's to empower us. We have been living in a world that disempowers us, or disempowers our body, disempowers our mind. And if you think about the last couple of years and the new marketing campaigns that are all over our commercial advertisements, they have turned certain situations into lifelong businesses. And as long as we keep somehow agreeing with that, then we stop our own bounty. I personally feel like, even with the things I've experienced with my teeth and Saturn, bringing, Saturn ruling teeth, I really believe that my body is super healthy, and that what has happened is all in my mouth because I've been finding my voice. And as an Aries rising, I started off pissed off, which would make my mouth erupt. I just keep seeing the dominoes as they go by. DJ, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. All right, let's go on to our Libras. The King of Cups. You know, this plays to this full moon, finding some balance even when the waters feel a little bit stormy, being not quite sure. There's a sense of, again, when I see the kings that are sort of looking off into the horizon, I feel like they're able to not react to the things that are necessarily being disruptive. And we see the Pisces fish in the background, and Saturn in Pisces, you know, these first few degrees, it's like we've jumped into a cold pool. You know, it's like, oh, and we haven't quite adjusted to it yet. And, you know, when I think about my personal opposition, I think that there's again, I go to that color wheel. I'm like, Saturn is offering me reward. Pluto is offering me reward, but it isn't going to be easy because there's going to be a situation out there that's going to give me an opportunity to demonstrate the evolved, more intuitive part of myself that knows being fair is not about necessarily judging things from a human perception, but rather seeing things maybe from an overview, seeing what will happen a year from now or 2 years from now. I don't know why I want to put it that way, but let's see. Libra, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, DJ, you sweet talker, you. Having Mercury and Libra in the first house. Oh, my goodness. I don't know if you were not medical, if you were an attorney, I bet you're a great orator. I bet that you are a peacekeeper. I bet that people surrender to your wisdom, even if they don't like it. Okay, Libra, here we go. Our first angel is Rosetta. The second is Francesca. The third is Layla. And the final is Fiona. Rosetta is being joined by the truth. Francesca is being joined by the fear card. Layla's being joined by the wind fairy, and Fiona's being joined by the frog. So oh, thank you so much, JDF8879. Okay, I'm just going to call you JD if you don't mind. Okay, Libra. Oh, I feel so much love right now, you guys. Okay. I want to offer it this way. With the King of Cups, the King of Love, the King of Intuition, the King, when I say King, there's a certain amount of prowess, there's a certain amount of wisdom attached to this emotional body, okay? And I want to offer it this way, because when I look at Rosetta, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. I want to offer it this way. This Rosetta, while it talks about parenting and teaching and guiding children, I think this is really about your inner child. And your inner child is closer to your inner truth, to your soul, to who you are and to what you are and why you are a Libra, rising, moon, sun, or stelliums. And, you know, we know that Libra rules truth and justice and balance. And I feel like this is about acknowledging yourself. I often talk about, I think that a real balanced Libra understands that two me's make a we. And so here, I think that this is about really allowing the deeper needs of yourself to be acknowledged to yourself versus maybe even looking outside to others right now. There's something here that makes me feel, because unlike the King of Wands, which we saw earlier, who was not looking at all into the spread, he is. And I think it's because he's trying to reconcile right now where fear has held him back. Francesca talks about negativity, and the fear card here makes me feel as if, you know, sometimes when we know a deeper truth of who we are. You know, we live inside our own bodies. We know how mad we can get. We know what we do when we're alone that other people may not know. And inadvertently, we may feel like that is somehow being exposed. I don't know why I want to say that, because with Layla and the Wind Fairy here, it makes me feel like Libras might be being super concentrating on, even if, like, you know, you could have one little fault and you could be concentrating on it in a way that just doesn't serve you. Because I really want to offer this full moon at 16 degrees Libra. This is about recognizing where you may have given your power to another, and you're not necessarily filling your own cup up because you're trying to be cooperative in some sort of relationship. And I think it's about allowing for diplomacy and harmony as you express what you need, and as you release yourself from fulfilling other people's needs more than you feel your own. Because with Layla and the Wind Fairy, it makes me feel like I'm in my head and I'm really kind of chewing on my fears. And if we think about it, with Aries and with Chiron and Jupiter being in Aries and presenting an opposition to Libra, there could be, Jupiter represents the husband, the shaman, the teacher, and in ancient times, the husband. And having it be in the sign of self, I get this weird feeling from the opposition that maybe you're going through an interior conflict between being used to being so available to partners, to your business partners, to the teams you're in, to your people, and now you're like, you know, I need to self-care a little bit, and it might be throwing things off a little bit. And I feel like Jupiter and Chiron being so close together in opposition to you is creating some sort of reflection into your deep beliefs about your value. You know, are you really valuable in where you think you are? And I believe that you are, but because I feel like this is an opportunity to release yourself. God and the angels are here giving you an opportunity to have an epiphany. And then we see the frog, which represents the cleaning of emotional baggage. It also represents, for me, when it talks about cleaning your house, it's the cleaning of the mind. And when I look at Rosetta and the Truth card, it's about allowing yourself to be fabulously flawed. It's about not having to be something for other people, but first and foremost, understanding that whatever, I want to offer it this way. If you know a lot about people around you, their emotional body, how they show up, and that maybe something that you're contemplating for yourself might rub up against them a little bit, and that's what this little storm is under here, I think there's a way that you can gently and diplomatically be and own yourself first, so that you can indeed truly be there for your partner in a much more authentic way, in the sense that you feel as seen as the partner does or the situation does. Because we want to really remember that when we talk about partnership, I think that the human goes straight up to husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, whatever. I don't go there. I go to diplomacy, harmony. Am I creating balance? Am I understanding the ebb and the flow of dark and light? Because sometimes darkness is actually light, and light is actually darkness. It's a weird way, but if you think about it, it makes sense. So, all right. This broadcast is getting long, and I'm trying to stick to an hour and a half. All right, here we go. Onto our Scorpios. Thank you, DJ. That goes there. This goes here. I bet Scorpio's a little happy that South Node is moving on out. All right, here we go. Scorpio. Okay. Don't freak out. There's that 10 of Swords. That's not an easy energy, I'm going to tell you. It's overkill. It's drama. It's unnecessary. It is extreme. When we look at this character, I always find that the way that the cards are shaded are very important, because You may feel very disempowered. There may be something that's been going on. We see this red robe, then we have sort of the yellow orangey tunic, and the fact that the head is facing away. Makes me feel as Scorpio's not been seen, that your power's been somehow diminished in some way. And this could very well be how you've been feeling as the South Node has traversed your sign. When my Mercury is in Scorpio, as is my Neptune, and when the South Node started to creep up on my Mercury, a lot of my clients shifted. I got new clients, and some clients that I've been used to dealing with on a regular basis went away. And at first I had a little panic about it. I thought, oh no, what does this mean for my everyday life? And what I realized when I was brave enough to look at the deeper psychology of these relationships was that there was balance that was not being purported. So I want to offer this because the 10 is a 1, and the 10 and the 1 talk about thought to me. And sometimes I think, Scorpio, the intuitive knowing, you see things in people that you see the mask, you see underneath the mask. And sometimes I don't know if you always pay attention to what you know. And that might inadvertently create more drama for you and feel as if it's disempowering you in some way. And, I can't help but see, I don't know why I want to put it this way, but when I look at his undershirt, so there's the tunic and here's the sleeve. This sleeve is white and gray. It's almost as if he can't see his connection to spirit, to the light. He's only focused back this direction. So let's look and see what spirit wants you to know. Where is there the potential of a new beginning? Because something kind of dramatic has taken place. And that might be this, if we think about Libra is your 12th house. So this would be the full moon is the culmination of something in your 12th house, the opportunity to break a ancestral dynamic that hasn't served you, where maybe you've been overly cooperative in some cases, or you've been diminishing yourself. Our first angel is Fiona. The second is Akasha. The third is Archangel Gabriel. And the final is Chantal, the angel of romance. Fiona's being joined by the wasp. Akasha's being joined by the frog. Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the history card, the bear, and then we have the dragon. All right. I'm not going to say that this isn't, this feels very much as if it's for my Scorpios is about harnessing your own intuitions. You're very strong, you're very powerful, you're very intuitive, and sometimes in the herd, you diminish your power. And it pisses you off because you're doing it in a way that's trying to get validation from others or the agreement of others. And I'm not quite sure that this is in alignment with the truth of who you are, because Fiona says now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And the wasp is about, it says right on the front, it's about anger. It's about retaliation. It's about jealousy. And sometimes in relationships, if we are in wobbly relationships, let's say we're not in a committed relationship, but we're doing all the activities of a committed relationship when we see each other, but we don't see each other enough. This could create an inner knowing for Scorpio that you are diminishing your power in some way, that you are not standing up to the truth of who you are. And you're hoping that your cooperative energy right now will work for you. And I don't think it will, because I think you're not meant to dumb down. You're not, you're meant to be savory. You're meant to be Kama Sutra. You're meant to be like Avatar. I see you, you see me, and represent the most savory and most beautiful relationships possible. I really believe that. It's transformative. And while it's a very kind of scary house for the mundane thinker, because they go straight to death and criminal activity, there's so much richness here. And I think that's what Akasha is trying to show you here as the teacher, as you let go of whatever dramas you have, whatever's held you back, what you've been holding on to. Mars co-rules the eighth house. And so I feel as if when we see Mars going through Cancer right now, it could inadvertently be stoking some of the things that have been going on from your childhood, from your home, from how you were nurtured. And does that story serve you anymore? Because you will think about it. You'll ruminate on it because you rule the deepest of psychologies. You rule the human imprint, that people aren't aware of, which is why you're so amazingly powerful, because when you see it, you kind of know how to work the landscape of that energy. Because the angels are really asking you to review and tell a new story. The bear talks about my history, but it also talks about the enchantment of storytelling. And here we have Archangel Gabriel, which is talking about communications and saying that you have a very important path involving communications. And I think that's not about talking to maybe the masses on YouTube, but interacting in your everyday life by being aware of that deep drama that humans are so attached to, and then being able to represent the awareness of it and then the calmness of it. Because when I went to Chantal, initially I thought we may be talking about your intimate partnerships, how you're interacting, but I think actually this is about self-love. And I think it's about self-love because it's taking that, knowing that stingy side, knowing the Mars, knowing the Pluto energy, and then coming from your heart and surrendering. I'm going to say that I feel these transits. I feel them in a challenging way sometimes. But when I think about the planets, my first love is Saturn. I don't know why I love Saturn so much. I just do. Maybe I knew Saturn in a past life. I don't know. But I feel like he really wants to reward me, that I have been working hard. And now is the time for me to acknowledge that so that Saturn can acknowledge it. I want to say this because I think Pluto, while it is going to square you in Aquarius, this is an opportunity for that liberation. Remember, the square is that old version of me versus the new version of me. And where am I going to root myself? In the new version, where there's a part of you that gets to really hone and come through as the master, as the expert in how I choose to show up, because I have mastered the drama in my life. Because the dragon is all about being cool, calm, and collected. And this is about love. And I think it's self-love. All right. On to our Sagittariuses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. It's funny how, I don't know if you guys do this, but since I've been, really, I'm in astrology every day these days. I've sort of integrated my work, and I'm really enjoying the focus of astrology. And now when I walk through my everyday life, I see characteristics. I have a neighbor who's a Sagittarius, and yet he has very little Sagittarian energy. He's very Saturnian. Doesn't like change. He's kind of Taurusy that way. So he's kind of earthbound, and he loves to read. He reads like a book a day. So I really think about the second house, and I think about his chart. I wonder what it looks like. I've never asked him for his information, but it would be so interesting because I'll bet we've got an earth sign rising, and I'll bet we've got some real mercurial stuff going on, because he loves to read like my grandma used to love to read. And I don't see that very often anymore. Okay, Sagittarius. I bring it up because he's a Sagittarius. It made me think of him. I love this energy. There is the Nine of Cups. This is, to me, self-satisfaction. I feel as if when I look at this, I'm still in process. My cups have all been lined up. They're not quite full yet. I've got things I get to put in them, but boy, am I proud of myself. I'm proud of how I'm showing up. I feel like this is such satisfaction. It's not dissatisfaction. There's a smile on his face. I think that the blue curtain represents my voice is aligned to my wants and desires. Let's look and see. It's interesting. I was studying with Brian Coulter. He's a Sagittarius sun, but he's a Virgo moon. And I see that earth play out with him. He's very process oriented. So, and I'm really loosey, kind of, even with my Taurus moon, I've got Uranus in the 5th house of Leo. I like a lot of variety and I like a lot of stimulation. I like to constantly learn and to integrate. I think it's mostly my Scorpio stuff, my Mercury in Scorpio. I always think I'm one of those people who said, the world's not flat. And then they killed me. The king is wearing no clothes. Off with her head. Okay, Sagittarius, the Nine of Cups is being joined by Oceana. Then we have Teresa in the angel, in the opportunity obstacle. We have Astera in the angel's advice, and then Rochelle. This is fun. I have my Chiron in Aquarius at 22 degrees. I totally resonate with being murdered for being different, for saying things that people thought were blasphemous. All right, Oceana is being joined by the forgiveness card. Oh my goodness, I got to get my... Teresa's being joined by the burden card. Astera is being joined by the hawk, and Rochelle is being joined by the dog. Okay, this is what I want to say. For my Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, right now, when I look at Oceana, that's about trusting your heart, trusting your truth, trusting your inner knowing, your emotional body. The forgiveness card tells me something's going to happen that is going to validate all of what the Nine of Cups has to offer you. There's something coming up. Oh, I got chills everywhere. Right now, I feel as if you being able, you rule foreign things. You rule things that are foreign to other people around you. It's not necessarily, somebody from Spain versus someone from the United States. It could just be things that are different that you're not used to. I think a lot of that comes into Sagittarius. And there's also this very feeling of starting to broaden your intuitive knowing, like trusting an inner knowing that is calling you into a direction that is feeling familiar and foreign at the same time. And it's giving you this sense of control in the midst of chaos, is the way I want to put it. Because here, when you're standing in this place of your inner knowing and trusting it and sort of being like, okay, I'm just going to kind of stay the course. In the opportunity, the obstacle is other people. There's a bit of worry, and there's the burden card. And I think that might be where other people, well, how are you going to do that? And it feels almost like well-meaning people could stoke the part of you that is slightly unsure. And at the same time, I think that there's a recipe for empowerment, because I think between the hawk and Astera saying to reach for the stars, that you truly are being Sagittarian and being able to pull yourself up above the mundane to see a much bigger picture. And I believe that you will absolutely see signs and omens that the universe is supporting your endeavors. And those are going to make you feel anchored into the unknown. I know it sounds kind of weird to feel anchored in the unknown, but it's a roller coaster ride of trust. And here we see the dog and we see Rochelle, unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity. And this is about following your heart and bringing bounty. I want to offer that I think for my Sagittarius is you are endeavoring things that are going to stand out to others. They're going to witness you do things that seem like, how could you do that? How does that work? What? Huh? And at the same time, you're not necessarily having the answer to the how, but being aware of your own vibrational intention and focus is what I believe is supporting you. And I don't believe that you're really actually the worried one. I think it's people around you, meaning you could be aware of the worry in the environment around us. We cannot forget that Saturn has moved into Pisces, and there is going to be structures implemented involving Piscean things. And one of the big things about Pisces is where we put people away, where we store them, orphanages, foster homes, mental hospitals, things like that. So as you're aware of what's going on around you, stay the course, because your self-satisfaction is actually going to stand in leadership for others when they trust a deeper knowing. Because I think when the average human starts to trust their inner knowing, it first comes in the way of don't do that, it's not good for you. And it's through the process that you start to understand, do this, it is good for you. It is aligned in what you want to do. Okay. All right. Let's go on to our goats. Me goats. Me Capricorns. I don't, sometimes I want to film this Sunday show because I want to insert things into the screen. Like right now, I would love to insert baby goats dancing all over the place and challenge you not to smile or feel warm when you see these little goats, because that's what I think my Capricorns are. And I think Saturn is starting a new golden age for us. I really believe that as we integrate our spirituality and we create structure, that's Saturn in Pisces for the next 2 years. And you become the master of thought. And I want to offer this too because this is very Libran. And I believe that you're exalted. Saturn is exalted in Libra. So I think that my Capricorns are going to, because, you know, we've had a lot of kings show up. This guy's looking straight at us. Okay. This is very Capricornian to be right there, to address the situation, to stand in leadership. And what I think that sword is representing is a mastery of my thoughts. And it is not being able to think perfectly. It's an awareness. The mastery comes from, oh, I'm out of alignment. Is this serving me? Oh, I got an imprint. Here we go again. It isn't, we're never going to fall polarizingly from sad to happy and happy to sad. It's a journey of colors and hues the whole time. It's never flat. All right, Capricorn. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Pluto is going to move back into the last degrees of Capricorn, back, you know, coming up in June. And I want to offer it this way, because even if you're late degree Capricorn, Pluto moving into Aquarius, you'll still feel it a little bit. What I want to offer you is that deeper truth and that rising above, the phoenix that rises from the ashes. Because I think this is where there's a sense of real beauty. Because when people look at you, they see so much of that earth, that practicality, that dynamic that they can relate to. And then your own transformation really does stand in leadership for others. All right. Capricorn, our first angel is the Patience card. The second is Shanti. The third is Astera. And the final is Adriana. Everybody's just relaxing. Maybe they're enjoying their evening, having a little, you know, one eye on Teri, the other eye on making dinner, or maybe you're making your breakfast. All right, here we go. Capricorn, Patience, and the Mystery card. Shanti and Merlin. Astera and the Swan. Adriana and the dog. You know, I know that Pluto's not been easy going through your first house. I know that, you know, while I love these planets, I know that they offer challenges, but I'm such a long-term thinker that I'm like, okay, let's get the nonsense out of the way. And that's what Saturn and what Pluto do. So patience is about information. It's about an observation of yourself. And there's the choice card. And what I think has been infused in my Capricorns is actually a more fair viewpoint. If you think about the dynamics of endurance, you know, Saturn wanting you to perform a task beyond your own personal comfort, that is very true. But now as you observe, what are the choices I'm making about that, where I'm going to assert myself? Because that's where Saturn does not make a choice. The human makes the choice. And if we allow too much obligation into our choices, then we actually don't serve ourselves or stand in fair leadership to others, because you're being offered a whole new chapter of alchemy, of peace, of feeling a sense of abundance. But I don't think it's not because you can't build in the material world. I think this is an interior job. It feels like when I look at the king of thought right here, I feel actually like my thoughts feel more balanced. Like I feel a sense of peace because I'm using my scales fairly. I'm being fair in the things that I make magic in. I believe that Merlin, he represents justice. This represents justice. So I think that this is an opportunity for my Capricorns to adopt a little baby goat dance, you know, because here's your transformation. And that's what everybody's seeing. And that's why your leadership is so powerful right now. Because as you incorporate the human structure, and this is now focused on my wants and desires, focused on how I feel like I'm thriving, you actually contribute to humanity. You contribute to everybody around you, because initially they may not think that you could move that direction, but you have. And I feel like you're enjoying it. And I can't help but see Astero's wing here. And these wings are in motion. You're about to take off. There's flight. Stay the course, because you are being led to not only your own personal destiny of your own making, but of feeling a more sense of, I want to offer it this way, because when I use the word love, it's a very broad term for me. I mean, I love ice cream and I love a margarita, and that's, so when I'm talking about love here, I feel like this is self-acceptance. I feel like this is understanding your goatness a little bit more, feeling a sense of, wow, I got this. I got this rhythm. I get me. I get the combination of me being partially in the human structure and then partially in another place where God and the angels have led me, because it's through me being able to represent leadership in the 3D world that I can really show the balance of my own evolution. So I think this full moon is going to be very powerful for you. I think it's in the house where you feel comfortable. And I think it's kind of interesting. Sometimes when we look at where the planets are exalted, it feels counterintuitive, because, if you think Saturn being in Libra, Libra wants balance, and Saturn's called restrictive. This is where I think we're off the mark, because I think that Saturn actually is exalted in Libra because he's standing in leadership for the ebb and the flow, for harmony, the balance of the challenge and the reward, which is what he offers. So I think for my Capricorns, there's something coming this week where you're starting to feel more balance in your life. You've observed yourself and you know yourself, and instead of villainizing yourself, you're feeling more the ebb and the flow. It very much feels a little bit like how I experienced this week. I knew I was getting frustrated. I knew that there was challenges going, on here and there, but I kept turning towards things that would play to a higher vibration of who and what I want to be and how I want to express myself in the world. All right, let's go into our Aquariuses and then our Pisces, and we will be done for the day. Okay, Aquarius. Now this may really, having Pluto just moved into your sign, you may have, this is a challenging energy. The 5 of Cups is where the character is focused on loss, not focused on what is still available. And the thing that's beautiful about this card is there's a freedom attached to the number 5. And as I'm illuminated into what I thought was really working, I realized that maybe these cups were not really full of the things that nurtured me. This, I could look at this as blood, the red, and the green, I almost look at it as bile right now, or some sort of something that's it feels a little like something that might stink. I don't know why. And I almost feel like if you're focused on that, are you really serving yourself? Because what Pluto wants to do is transform you into a place where wherever you felt exiled, wherever you felt that you were different, you can start to find community and start to feel a sense of connectedness. But it's about focusing, turning yourself around and focusing in on what is still here, what you possess. This, and the cups are not, this is not about a material possession. It's about an intuitive, I think it plays more to the idea of the invention and the technology and the forward thinking. So if inadvertently you've gotten a little bit caught up because the initial feeling of Pluto going into your sign is kind of felt disruptive, I want to offer an opportunity to turn your head. Let's see what Spirit has to say. This is also traditionally known as the divorce card, and the sorrow that follows when part of our world has changed. And this character feels rather powerless to me, at least in how they are viewing the situation. We can't tell if this is a man or a woman. There's just a sense of defeat. Our first angel is Layla. The second is Shanti, the angel of peace. Maya is the third, and the final is Oceana. Layla talks about spending time in communion with God and the angels to adjust your perception. And sometimes when we experience a loss, it's actually a gain. And we don't realize that. I think I've told you guys that before I moved into my apartment in Laguna Beach 20 years ago, I lost every single thing I owned moving back from the East Coast. I mourned that, and yet it was a very freeing experience. Layla is about communing with nature, communing with God, talking about what is my true intention? What do I really want to experience? And then we have the serpent, which is offering me a new skin. What does Pluto do? Sheds things, offers rebirth. We have Shanti, the angel of peace, in the communications card. We have Maya and the Grail Knight. And then we have Oceana and the Lady of the Lake. I believe there's some sort of revolution and liberation going on for my Aquarians. And I think as your ruling planet, Uranus, has been transiting through whatever house Taurus is for you. So let me think for a second. Aquarius is going to square Taurus, so it must be your fourth house. Aquarius, yeah. And let me offer this, because what may be happening is you may inadvertently be feeling as if there's some disruption within your home life, your family story, where that which you come from, your childhood experience. And if you shift too much, you will feel some sort of loss. The other thing that's coming to me for Aquarius, and I'm not quite sure, depending upon your age, a lot of you Aquarius rising have Chiron, your natal Chiron in Taurus. So there may be something that's coming up about loss, about a wound, and it's an opportunity to shift it into a gift. Because I think part of this loss is there's things about it that actually will be liberating to you in some way. And it could be an emotional loss or an emotional recognition. It doesn't really feel like it's in the material world. It feels like it plays that Pluto psychology, that deep imprint that I have. And one of the deep imprints that Aquarius has is that you're not part of the pack, because you think in such broad terms. You think, how can we make humanity a better place? How can I, create things that will make more ease for others? So here, now I think this is an opportunity for you to start to be aware of your own peaceful thoughts, to reconcile where you're going and allow whatever appears to be a loss to actually be a gain, because you're learning something about your deeper truth. Maya is the angel of schooling and education, and this is about a bowing down to your deeper truth. We see Excalibur here, and we see Excalibur here. She is holding Excalibur with the gentlest of touch while the storm goes on. And here is what you represent is, or what Oceana represents, is a soul's calling to a bigger picture. And I can't help but feel the Aquarian energy of looking up beyond what is happening down here. So if for some reason this initial jaunt of Pluto moving into your sign has started to alert you to a change in your life, or a change in your attitude, or a change in your emotional body, it doesn't always represent loss in a big way. It sometimes represents a transformation that offers us a new opportunity to fill cups from a different perception. I feel as if I want to honor how you're feeling, but I don't want to let you be stuck there. I don't want you to stay there. I want you to allow for the expansion. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Pisces. Are you enjoying your first house and Saturn hanging out? Because it's an interesting energy in its initial vibration, I must say. All right, Pisces, our tarot card is the Two of Pentacles. There's a bit of travel indicated here, but it's also a card of flexibility, being able to juggle, that life is an infinite series of experiences that go up and down. Now, let me offer this, because the two is about cooperation. The two, in some ways, is going to be about, we've got 22 people in the room right now. For my Pisces, you're a mutable sign. You've got two fish. I believe that this is an opportunity for you to be flexible as you assert yourself. This is Pisces is your first house. Saturn is going to really start to put a wet blanket on any illusions, any escaping you're doing, any, oh, it'll be better when we have a baby. Oh, it'll be better when this happens, and anything you're doing there, I think is going to be a little bit challenging. If you're trying to tell a story that's putting, as they say, lipstick on a pig, someone's taking your lipstick away. And I think this is an opportunity to be flexible and to start to ground in some new dynamics of cooperation for yourself, new ways of putting yourself in the mix. Let's see what the angels have to say, because this is not rooted in any way. There's no money coming in right now. This is all about flexibility. It's about being able to juggle. It's about being light on your feet. All right. Our first angel is Teresa. The second is Archangel Raphael. The third is Crystal. And the final is Archangel Uriel. Pisces is so compassionate and loving and empathetic. And yet, there is a little bit of a challenging side when you're angry. You're good at it. We don't usually talk about those things with Pisces because we only see the soft side of you. You got your little nooks and crannies, just like the rest of us. All right. Teresa is being joined by the Swan. Archangel Michael is being joined by Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Communications card. Crystal is being joined by the New Beginning. And Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Goblin. Okay, this is what I want to say. For my Pisces, one of the things that I have I've expressed is a concern that you're so compassionate that sometimes you get lost in the mix. And when we think about the natural 12th house that you rule, this is a house where we feel unseen. It's the house behind the house of self. There is a possibility that during this week, during our full moon in Libra, that you're sick of not being seen, that you've been flexible, you've been going back and forth, but now you've transformed and you want a little bit more fairness in your situations and in your dynamics, because Teresa's about worrying about other people, and there's the transformation. And other people may be very used to you behaving in a certain way that gives them sort of an upper hand, more power, more control, more importance in a relationship. And as you've been putting importance on yourself, which is what Saturn's going to do. Saturn's going to say, are you being delusional? Is that person truly giving in a fair way? Is there a reciprocal relationship? Everything. We're not ever going to sit like this. This is not true balance. Balance is a motion. It is a going back and forth, because Archangel Raphael is offered a healing, and there's the Communications card. And I think this is really referring to how you think. Will people respond to if I take care of me, will I still be loved by the people who I love? Will they still, be for me who they need to be? And yet there may not be real balance there, because in the angel's advice is having faith and hope in your new beginning. Practicing new skills that are untried. They're there, but you have no prowess at them. You have not mastered them. You have no expertise. And if you've been giving up yourself to another, or if for some reason you've been, swimming around in waters that were murky and you couldn't see very clearly, now is a time when that's going to come up. And what I think is that potentially that you may be thwarting your own evolution because you're afraid that others will be angry at you, that you won't be. The Archangel Uriel is frustration and anger, and the Goblin is the wounded ego. And here I feel like if for some reason, and I want to offer this too, because if Saturn has brought a diminished energy into your life, if for some reason things have felt like they were drying up, like it was going to turn to stone and then crack and turn to dust, it's an opportunity to really see if what is happening is aligned to what is really true for your moving forward, or is it somehow something that has made you feel historically safe, but it really has not been in balance. Because I think that where I'm trying to go with my Pisces is that those that truly care and love for you will allow for your transformation and your empowerment. And those that have benefited from your good heart and your grace may start to feel their feathers ruffled a little bit because you're putting a little of that on yourself. I'm going to give grace to myself. I'm going to put the focus on me for a minute. I get to do that because it's important for me so that I can be who and what I need to be for everybody else. Because you really are a healer. You are a very wise soul, truth be told. So this week, be flexible with yourself. If your ego gets triggered, if you feel diminished by people, if somebody pulls rank in a relationship, be flexible. And maybe even try going a direction you haven't gone before. It doesn't mean ending anything or putting out an ultimatum. Again, the key is flexibility. The key is being able to go back and forth, because just by standing your ground in a compassionate way, it may give the other party an opportunity to see your point of view in a way you have not been validated before. And that could do something for this last spread. Let me pull one more card. It's time your feelings are acknowledged. It really is. It's time for you no longer to have to put them aside, to stuff your frustrations and your anger, to feel unseen. Now is a time to allow, because this is, we see here the waters in the background, and the earth represented by the pentacles is some sort of balancing act or flexibility with what's in the material world and what's on the interior world. Okay, that's it. For me, I love you all. I want to thank you for being here and hanging in there with me. I appreciate you. I'm going to get the April monthlies out this week. That's my intention. I will have more workmen here and a dental appointment, so bear with me. I'm going to try to do a separate video because I think these full moons at the 16th degree are super important as well. So be on the lookout for that. Like, subscribe, hit those comment, share, all that good stuff. And then I'll be back next Sunday at 11 a.m. with Small Wildflowers and the rest of the gang to do our next week's readings. I just lost my train of thought. All right, guys, have a blessed week. Sending lots of love to you. Peace out.